the day money stopped asking permission. It did not happen with a law being repealed or a bank collapsing. There was no announcement, no ribbon cutting, no clear moment to point to. Money simply began moving in ways it never had before. To understand why this moment matters today, we need to examine how permission has always shaped financial life. For most of modern history, moving value required approval from someone else. A bank verified identity. An institution processed transfers. A state-defined system decided who could participate, how fast transactions could occur, and under what conditions access could be denied. Money was mobile, but only along approved paths. This structure created stability, but it also created friction. Payments crossed borders slowly. Accounts could be frozen. Transfers could be reversed or blocked entirely. For individuals and businesses operating outside dominant financial centers, permission was not a formality. It was a barrier. Decentralized networks altered this relationship quietly. Instead of requesting access, users broadcast transactions. Instead of waiting for approval, they relied on verification. Value moved because rules were satisfied, not because authority allowed it. The system did not ask who you were, where you lived, or why you were sending money. It only asked whether the conditions were met. At first, this felt like a technical shortcut. Faster settlement, lower fees, fewer intermediaries. But beneath those efficiencies was a deeper shift. Money no longer needed to justify itself. It did not require trust in institutions. It did not pause for review. Once initiated, it moved. This change rewired expectations. Access became default rather than granted. Participation no longer depended on relationships with banks or compliance with opaque standards. Anyone with a connection could transact. The gatekeepers were replaced by protocols, and the gates themselves quietly disappeared. The reveal was subtle but profound. Financial permission, once assumed inevitable, was no longer universal. A parallel system had emerged where money operated autonomously, following rules instead of requests. And once money stopped asking permission, everything built around permission began to feel unstable. As permissionless systems gained traction, their implications extended far beyond faster transactions, quietly reshaping how individuals, institutions, and states understood control over financial flows. What once required approval, documentation, and oversight now occurred through broadcast and validation, shifting power away from gatekeepers toward anyone capable of participating in the network. This shift challenged assumptions embedded deep within financial architecture. Permission had always been framed as protection. It prevented fraud, enforced compliance, and maintained stability. Removing it felt reckless to critics, yet liberating to those who have been excluded or constrained by traditional systems. The same mechanism that protected some had restricted others. As adoption grew, new behaviors emerged. Individuals moved capital across borders without intermediaries. Businesses settled transactions instantly with partners they had never met. Communities coordinated financial activity without shared institutions. These actions were not acts of defiance. They were byproducts of a system that made permission unnecessary. This autonomy, however, came with trade-offs. Without centralized oversight, responsibilities shifted to users. Mistakes could not be reversed. Losses were final. Security depended on personal diligence rather than institutional safeguards. Freedom expanded, but so did exposure. Institutions responded by tightening control at the edges. Banks increased monitoring. Governments expanded reporting requirements. Compliance grew more complex as authorities attempted to reassert visibility over systems designed to operate without it. The friction did not disappear. It moved. The permissionless model also altered expectations of speed and availability. Financial services no longer closed. Settlement was continuous. Markets operated without pauses. This constancy favored those prepared to operate at all hours and disadvantaged those relying on traditional rhythms. Time itself became an economic variable. As these dynamics unfolded, it became clear that permission had not vanished universally. It had fragmented. Some systems still required approval. Others did not. Users navigated between them, choosing efficiency or protection depending on context, often without fully understanding the implications. The reveal deepened. Permissionless money was not simply a technological feature. It was a social experiment, testing how much autonomy individuals could handle when systems stopped intervening on their behalf. And the experiment was far from over. The conflict sharpened as permissionless money collided with systems built to manage risk through oversight, predictability, and intervention. What had once been abstract debate became practical tension, felt in frozen accounts, blocked transactions, and sudden regulatory responses that exposed the fault lines between autonomy and control. For authorities, permissionless value flows represented a loss of visibility. Transactions occurred without intermediaries to report them. Enforcement became reactive rather than preventative. By the time activity was detected, it had already settled. The familiar levers of control no longer worked as intended. For users, the absence of permission felt empowering, until it did not. Without safeguards, scams proliferated. Errors became irreversible. Markets moved violently, unconstrained by circuit breakers or human discretion. The system offered freedom, but it demanded constant vigilance in return. This imbalance favored the prepared. Technically sophisticated participants thrived. Those with better tools, faster access, and deeper understanding navigated risks effectively. Others learned through loss. The system did not discriminate. It simply applied rules uniformly, regardless of consequence. Institutions attempted to restore balance through integration. Hybrid models emerged. Permissionless rails connected to permission access points. Compliance wrapped itself around autonomy. These compromises reduced friction for some, but reintroduced gatekeeping in new forms. As these layers accumulated, confusion grew. Users struggled to understand where autonomy ended and oversight began. Responsibility blurred. When failures occurred, blame shifted between code, platforms, and individuals. The clarity promised by permissionless design became clouded by complexity. The build-up toward the emotional peak centered on contradiction. Money moved freely, yet consequences were rigid. Access expanded, yet protection shrank. Control diminished, yet risk intensified. This tension could not resolve quietly. It demanded reckoning. The climax arrived when permissionless money stopped being a novelty and became a stress test for the entire financial order. Not because it collapsed systems overnight, but because it revealed how deeply permission had been woven into assumptions about safety, fairness, and responsibility. When money no longer asked for approval, it forced a choice. Either accept a world where individuals carry more risk in exchange for autonomy, or rebuild layers of control around systems that were never designed to accommodate them. Neither option offered a clean solution. Both reshaped power in uncomfortable ways. This was the moment many misunderstood. Permissionless money did not eliminate authority. It challenged where authority belonged. Control shifted from institutions to infrastructure, from discretion to rules, from judgment to execution. Decisions happened faster, but reflection lagged behind. The resolution lies in recognizing that permission is not inherently oppressive, nor is autonomy inherently virtuous. Permission can protect. Autonomy can empower. Problems arise when one is removed without rethinking the other. Systems built purely on freedom struggle with responsibility. Systems built purely on control struggle with inclusion. Today, money exists in both worlds at once. It moves freely on some rails and cautiously on others. Users toggle between autonomy and protection, often without realizing how much risk they assume with each choice. The financial system did not break. It bifurcated. The modern relevance is clear. As technology continues to reduce friction, societies must decide where permission still matters and where it no longer serves its purpose. These decisions are not technical. They are social, legal, and deeply human. The day money stopped asking permission did not end control. It redistributed it. And that redistribution is still unfolding. The day